This is a test of the Boundary Park alert system. Hello and welcome to the Boundary Park Alert System podcast with me, Matt Dean. I'm joined this week by Andy Halliwell, all the way down in sunny London. How are you, mate?
I'm okay.
Yeah, this is one of those things. This is going to be one of those episodes where you have to look at the bigger picture in life.
You have to grit and bear it. I mean, when you sent me the message yesterday with the link in it, my instant reply was, "Do I have to?"
Yeah, I know, and it was yes. We have to do this together, Andy. We have to do this together. We have to get through this together. And what a strange way and tone to start the podcast when we are in the playoffs and hoping to extend the season beyond the 4th of May, which is the last game, I think it is, or something like that, the absolute game anyway. But anyway, come on to all that. We do have a fan guest who we need to formally introduce. So do your thing, Andy.
Yeah, so this is a debutant fan guest on the podcast, although he has participated in a phone-in once or twice. So you may recognise the voice if you watch the phone-in, but we'll go through the rituals. When was your first game, fan guest?
My first game ever was 15th of April 1974, Southport away, and we won 2-0.
So was that the season we got promoted?
It was the season we got promoted under Jimmy Frizzle, yes.
Oh, well,
yes.
There we go.
Yes. Glory Hunter.
Yeah, you've seen all the good time. You're of that generation that's literally seen every bit of the good time, haven't you? Really, Matt and I arguably are too young to have seen all of it. We just saw some of it.
Listen, to put that into context, and this is how poor we are. We've only been promoted once since that year of 1974. That is shockingly bad, isn't it?
It's really bad, yeah. Who was your first favourite player then, Fangas, from that sort of 70s era?
It's got to be Alan Groves. Alan Groves, a superstar, but one of the best footballers I've ever seen in my life. Had a wonderful touch. I remember him sitting on the ball before he tapping the ball over the goal line once at Boundary Park. Used to have a shop at Garden Suburbs. Used to go there on my way home from school, get free key rings. Alan Groves. Went to Blackpool sadly and died too young, but Alan Groves.
Alan Groves, yeah. Unfortunately, again, me and Matt too young to have seen him, but we've heard all about him. Yeah,
we've heard the stories.
Yeah. Just call me an old man. Carry on. Get it out of the way. Go on.
Well, to many people, me and Matt are old men. That's how bad it is. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
What is your favourite Latics-related memory, fan guest?
Can I have two? Because I have got two.
Have two.
First one. Again, I'm old. 1977, David Shaw equalising at Liverpool in the 5th round of the FA Cup. Absolute shock. I couldn't believe it. David Shaw returning to us on his second spell, equaliser. Superb. Probably second memory, but the best memory, because it was unbelievable, was winning promotion at Ipswich away in 1991. Absolute superb memory. Superb memories. Again, I'm old. I'm lucky. I get it. But yeah, superb memories. Bring back the good old days.
Yeah, well, hopefully they're not too far away in the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
We'll come to that, I'm sure. And can you tell us a little known or a little unknown fact about yourself?
Yes, when I used to live in the UK, I'll give that something away there. I was an official, a referee, and twice I've stood in as the standing fourth official when the referee's been injured at Boundary Park. On two occasions, been called out the crowd, or they've announced they need an official, and I was luckily a class 1, so I was subject to that twice at Boundary Park. First one we won, second one we lost.
What games were there? Can you recall when and who against?
I can't remember. I think one of them was against Sheffield Wednesday certainly. And the funny thing was, one of them it was just before the half time. We used to have in the Chaddy end, used to have a betting booth. I don't know if it's still there. We used to have a bet, first goal, win, result, etc. And I just had a £5 on Jermaine Johnson to score the goal, and he slotted the goal in the Chaddy end. And I was just walking behind up the side of the corner, and he come over to celebrate in the corner flag, and I was like almost celebrating with him on my way to be the neutral fourth official, having won the bet and also took the lead against Sheffield Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday, but yeah, he went on to sign for Wednesday. Sorry, yeah, I diverse, but yes, that's my fact twice.
Well, that's brilliant. Great stories. So
the clues are adding up here, Andy. So he doesn't live in the UK anymore. He's old, and he's got a familiar voice. So fans, people have got to know who this is.
Who are you?
I am Chris Stringer, currently living in Brittany in France. Long-time Latics fan, suffering, but still watching from afar. Still evicted and still part of the Mooney situation. But yeah, Chris Stringer, nice to see you, lads, and brilliant to be on.
Nice to see you, Chris, and all. And listen, you don't look old. I don't know how old you are, but you know that French lifestyle's taking years off you, mate. You know what I mean?
Hey, can I give you a third interesting fact? This will blow your brain. So I know you guys have started walking football. Last week, I was playing the football tournament in France, walking football tournament. I was approached to try out for the French over 60 walking football team as a goalkeeper, but I can't because I'm English. But hey, now that is interesting, isn't it? That was amazing last Sunday. Yeah. So 60.
Could you not pretend? Could you not put an accent on?
Well, that involves not having a shower, smelling of onions, riding the push bike with the blue eyes, the usual things. Yeah. But no. But it was an honour. It was an honour. I'm privileged. So, but no, life.
Very good. Well, welcome to the show, Chris. Welcome to the podcast. Yeah, you've been on the phone in plenty of times, and like you said before, another little facts you could have thrown in there was that you were the first caller on the phone in.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm the only one ever spoke to Joe Royle. Yes, very good.
yeah. Me and Dave barely got to speak to Joe Royle. The connection was that bad. Welcome, mate.
Thank you.
It's funny actually. It's funny that you were the first caller on the phone in when we think back to. I know we tried to talk about football, didn't we, on the phone in when it started, because we had the podcast as the vehicle for the for all the other woes that we were suffering. Woe, there's a word we'll come back to later on. Yeah, unfortunately, football-wise now, I mean, I don't want to say we're in the same place as we were when you first called back whenever that was, but I mean, we don't seem to be playing much better than we were then. I mean, our form in the form table is what, 18th, 19th, something like that now since Christmas. So, Chris, I presume you watch all the games because you can from France. What did you make of yesterday?
Yesterday, I thought we started off okay. I thought, to be honest with you, the first 5 or 10 minutes we seemed to be knocking it about okay. I wasn't honestly when I saw the lineup at first, the 7 substitutes. I would have had personally every one of those on the pitch from the outset. Everyone, I looked at every substitute yesterday, goalkeeper included, and I started with every substitute in the starting 11. I couldn't agree with this starting 11. So straight off the bat, I was a bit plight by the team. We started off, to be fair, okay. Obviously, I wasn't expecting fireworks from Ghana, but you know, with these things, we're just not set up to attack teams. I mean, yesterday we went behind to a weak goal. It was a weak goal. I think there was a dodgy decision by the liner, but we win some, we lose some. I posted that was a shite decision, but we were worse than that. You know, we bring our own luck, don't we? We make our own luck. So I think that we set off okay, but soon weak in defence, and Hudson's not looking up to scratch at the moment. He's not up to pace at the moment, poor lad. He was a good keeper. I'm not saying he's a poor keeper, but he's not up to his game yet. And they scored a goal, and from then on, we were sort of chasing the game, and the second goal was a killer. You know, we never looked like we were going to do anything. The only thing that changed us for the positive was when he took Leak off and brought on Jez. I thought that was an injection of pace on which gave us some hope. But to be fair,
forced error though, forced change, wasn't it? That was
exactly, yeah. But it did help, and but like Mellon,
it did help.
Mellon's claiming it as a substitution, but I can't. It's not a positive for Mellon's that, and I think that also the second half when he brought on Mike Fondop, we were better. And I mean, you're probably going to play Mr. Mellons' interview later on. I think we'll probably talk about that later on. But I think what I've heard about that and what I saw about that, I'm not impressed with that part of his interview. But I thought Fondor, he looked out of sorts. He tried, but he didn't seem to get anywhere yesterday. Now, sometimes you've got a man management people in a positive. I think he just seems a bit down. We seem a bit flat all over the pitch. And my wife thinks I go to sleep while I'm watching the game because I'm not shouting at the TV. The only people I shout at are the linesman, the referee. But I would say, as a team, it's just not inspiring at the moment. And I don't know where we're going to turn it round. That's the truth.
Andy, are we going to turn it around? I mean, in terms of our form, because we've got 4 league games left before the playoffs, and we are in a situation now where we may even fail to, if we carry on losing games and the teams around us win. Gateshead got a good win at Forest Green yesterday. We might not even make the playoffs.
Yeah. No, we're not going to turn it around. It is the straight answer. I don't know whether we'll pick up enough points to stay in the playoffs. I suspect we will. With that 6-point cushion and 4 points to go, it probably only needs a win out of those 4 games. I'm not sure where that's coming from. It should come from Ebbsfleet at home, but they won 4-1 yesterday, so they may be sort of free of the shackles of now they're relegated, trying to play young lads. I don't know what they're doing, but sometimes it happens. This, a team gets relegated and then they win 3 or 4. No pressure anymore. Yeah. So that could be an absolute banana skin, that. But you'd think we'd collect enough points to finish in the playoffs, but I don't think we'll finish 4th. Rochdale will catch us probably. Halifax will probably go past us. Gateshead might go past us. We may end up in 7th. Yeah. And then it's 2 away games, which we've got absolutely no chance coming through, as far as I'm concerned. So I think it's done. I think the season's done, if I'm honest. And yeah, it's very difficult. I think Chris's summary of the situation there was bob on, really. This is all on Mellon now. There is no real. I mean, like I get a bit frustrated. I watched the game in the week against Woking, and that's 3 abysmal games, isn't it? Southend, Woking, Yeovil. Rubbish in all 3 of them, and Mellon has to take responsibility for that. I get a bit frustrated when some of the senior players don't sort of take the game by the scruff of the neck. And I heard the phone in the week. Gaz Mealy was on talking about it's Mellon's instructions to play that way, and the players don't want to go against his instructions because they'll be dropped and they've got appearance fees and all that. And I guess that's reasonably well argued, but you just want 1 or 2 senior players to sort of, basically drag the team through and play the right way and set a standard for everyone else to follow. Yeah, it's a bad state. I think, we'll come to it, but it looks like he's done to me probably now. Mellon done it. I don't see how he comes through this now. Really, it's just really bad.
Well, speaking of Mickey Mellon, I think we should probably have a listen to what he said post-match yesterday after the Yeovil game. Here we go. If you've heard it already and you can't bear to hear it again, then skip forward 6 minutes and 38 seconds.
Mickey, it's finished in defeat. Where did we fall short this afternoon?
Absolutely defensively. You can't give goals away like that at any time of the season and expect it not to be made difficult for you. But what I will absolutely say is we as a group owe the supporters that travelled today, because they've came such a long way, and you know what, they supported us and they stuck with us, and we didn't defend well enough for them, and we made it very difficult for ourselves, and then we didn't quite show the qualities that are needed to take some of the chances that we got and make more. It was difficult. It was difficult because your character is severely tested when you give away cheap goals like we give away. It is so many now. It is so many, and we have to focus on now with 4 games to go. Quite simply and childishly, we need to do better in the moments. We have to do better as individuals. In the moments we have to do better to give ourselves, which we have to focus on now. I accept all the criticism that comes my way all the time. I accept it. I'm desperate to do well for Oldham, and I know how difficult it is to watch a lot of what we did today. It was very difficult, and it would test even the most optimistic of supporter. I get that. It's my job to acknowledge that, and I absolutely do. But to try and keep supporting the players and understand, I know the things that we need to do better. Do I work on it? Yeah, all the time. And is it frustrating? Absolutely, it's frustrating. Yeah, it's frustrating, and it's toe curling at times. But it's what we have to improve it. We have to improve at that, and have to focus on that and keep working with that, and believe that we can get better at that, and get into next week and move on, and try and put it right in the next game. That's all I can do, and absolutely take all the flack that will probably come our way. But I'm a big boy and I've been in it a long time and understand that that's the way it goes, and I accept that and I acknowledge that. But I'll be focused fully on trying to get Oldham more consistent and doing things much better, because I care very, very much about this football club and this project. So that's what I'll be concentrating on next week.
Does a start like we made this afternoon always make it an uphill struggle?
It's always going to be very difficult, because then they can control the tempo and they can slow things down, and time waste and all the rest of it, which they did incredibly. It was probably as much as I've seen for a long time. But listen, I can't criticise their team. I've got my own team to sort out, but that's the conditions that you create when you give away cheap goals at the moments that we give them away. And then the second goal just beggars belief. But we then have to believe that the next goal is very, very important, because it changes the world, and we just didn't quite were able to do that with enough time left to try and maybe make it a wee bit more nervy for them. We got to go too late and weren't able to do anything about it.
3 changes this afternoon from Tuesday, with some players returning as well. Were those changes always going to be made after Tuesday?
A wee bit about performance and a wee bit about what I thought I was going to get today. I mean, on Tuesday night, the performances of some of them tested everybody in terms of how could I think that you could go against some of them. And then other ones were a bit unlucky because we went back to what we knew, and that was a back 5 and 3 experienced midfield players, and people like Vermaelen and Lindstrom could find themselves really unlucky not to be playing, because I didn't think they particularly did that well, but we went for that wee bit of blend of experience in the midfield. And then up front, we want more from Michael. We want more. May as well tell you that we want much more. And he's usually gives you that reaction when he comes off the bench. Didn't quite give us what we needed today, but he's going to have to give us more. Not just him, but you're asking me about the changes, and that's why we did that. So, yeah, all of that.
As you touched on at the start, obviously it's a crucial stage of the season. Results in recent weeks clearly haven't gone our way. Can you put your finger on what has been missing during this period of games?
Get away cheap goals, not getting the first goal. Defending poorly, whether that be as a unit or individuals, the goals that we give away beg a belief. To give yourself a chance of being successful, you've got to defend well. You don't have to. You won't be able to come to everywhere and have to score 3 goals to win a game of football. We should be tougher and more resilient and give less cheap goals away. At the other end, we need to find that sort of cutting edge, that little bit of clinical edge. We're playing with 2 strikers, and we played with Jez for a lot of the game today, and we played with creative midfield players. So maybe we have to be better with the ball, getting it into the front men holding it up and getting up into the areas and creating more chances. So all of that we need to get better at. We know that. I know that, and I'll be going in on Monday, and we will just continue to keep working on that. And we're hurting, but like I said right at the start of the interview, I acknowledge and absolutely understand the fans, supporters' frustration, because I feel it as well. But I'm not paid, as I say, to be emotional or anything like that. I'm paid to get this team going again and try and get them to represent that superb support that we had today. And I am thoroughly disappointed for them. But we have to move on and go and try and get the next goal quickly. Thank you.
Mickey Mellon there after the defeat at Yeovil. For me, let me know what you think, lads. I best unmute Chris because otherwise he won't be able to join in. It was a bit more honest, I thought, than in recent weeks. I think he was he couldn't really sort of like make excuses or gloss over anything. 3 defeats on the bounce, he didn't really have any choice. He sounded like a manager who was more resigned to the truth, I guess. He said some funny things. He said he was, we try, Andy, don't we? We try to be optimistic. We try to be balanced. We do our best because it's very easy. It would be very easy to come in here and just moan and criticise and shout and scream and do all that. I personally don't think it'd be very interesting to listen to if there wasn't any nuance in it. But he did say he was testing the most optimistic of fans, and that is certainly certainly true. He described it as toe curling at times, which again I think is very true. He says that they work. This was what bothers me though. He says that they work on it, and there doesn't seem to be much evidence of it, does there? That's a worry. But he did take responsibility for it, and he says he cares deeply. He suggests that maybe we should be better with the ball. I'd say we should definitely be better with the ball. I think that's without question. Giving away goals is the cause of our woes, yeah, and also not scoring enough. Speaking of which, he wants more from Mike Fondop. So yeah, there was a lot in that. There was a lot in that interview, and obviously he got pulled apart a bit by it on Twitter, as you would imagine. I don't think Mike Fondop can do much more than he's done this season, Chris. I mean, I know Andy's not, he's not his biggest fan, but you've already said that he's the player of the season, and he's goals, and you can't get much more out of him than he's given this season. So
absolutely, let's just hang on a minute. I think digging Mike Fondop out there is like, I'll defend Mike Fondop now because I think it unreasonable to be pointing that at him. Mike Fondop is my player of the season. I will be voting for Mike Fondop player of the season. I think he, given his limited ability, which I think he has, I think he's had an exceptional season. But that's the problem for us is that we're relying on Mike Fondop to try and drag us through games sometimes, and he's not capable. So yeah, I don't really know why he was on the bench anyway yesterday. He wasn't picked, so I don't.
Well, he wasn't picked because I guess he wanted more out of him in the walking game, and he didn't get it, so he benched him, and then he brought in Joe Garner. Chris, you mentioned before about the substitutes and the the team he picked or the team he didn't pick. Does Mickey Mellon know what his best side is? Does Mickey Mellon know how to get the most out of this squad of players that he's assembled?
But he's not indicating that he does know what his best side is. He seems to tinker with it needlessly sometimes. When I think we've got a sort of a tried and tested formation, we seem to put a run together, and he'll chop and change it for no reason. I mean, Worthington's in, Worthington's out. Where's Billy Waters gone? All the questions that are asked week in, week out on your phone. Where are these people going? Yesterday, let's pre the interview. The lineup, the setup, the way we set up to play, we weren't playing football on the floor, and we were hoofing the ball into a 5'2" striker like Joe Garner, who's never going to win the ball. I mean, Harrott plays off Mike Fondop. We know that Harrott is now a poacher. We've seen his qualities. He's going to tap in goals from 6 yards all season long for us, but he's not going to win the ball in the air incessantly like Fondop can. Fondop's is a unit. You said it, he's a massive man. And I think to blame or to name Mike Fondop like yesterday was completely just, he hung him out to dry. And bearing in mind, Fondop last season didn't get a contract till the 11th hour. He was sort of an also-ran because he hadn't found anybody else. That's how I saw Mike Fondop in the close season. To me, we've pinned too much onus on James Norwood, who's not been fit. We've backed the wrong horse. We should have invested somewhere else and got rid of Norwood, with all respects. And that's not against Norwood, but he just hasn't produced apart from the goal against Altrincham. And I think, to blame Fondop is totally unfair. And we just played hoofball. Even my missus, she went, "Isn't football supposed to be on the floor?" It was hoofball again, wasn't it? And I don't know how we scored a goal, to be honest with you. We scored too late. he does, I mean, we could spend 3 hours dissecting his interview there. He accepts criticism. No, he doesn't. He throws his toys at the pram. He really doesn't. We need to score the first goal. We did on Tuesday, and then we backed off. We backed off. What is he on? What is he seeing? And does he do training? Because I don't think there's no. We're getting better. We've got 4 games left now. So it's took 42 games to find out that we need to work on this. I'm sorry, lads, but it's too little too late now. I want the season over. If we get up, I'll be a miracle. But we don't deserve to. Look how York are. They're on fire. We're in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a massive indicator, isn't it? We go there on Easter Monday. Yeah. And you think about, like, obviously they beat us at Boundary Park, but how up for that game we were on Boxing Day, which obviously didn't happen. But there's a gulf in class between us now. Clearly, what I'm struggling with really is how we've gone from being so good before Christmas, winning games, grinding out results. It looked like we had a lot of character. Coming back from losing positions and all that, and it's completely different now. And there are, you see people on Twitter and things like that going, "Oh, he's definitely lost the dressing room" and things like that. With there's no proof, as in no one's come out from the team, and that never happens. But do you think, lads, do you think that he has lost the dressing room? Do you think that the tinkering and the messing about with players, you mentioned the ins and outs there, Chris. Lundstrom again didn't start. For me, he was him linking up with Jez in the early part of the Woking game was one of the highlights. Jorgen Nathan likes to use the ball, likes to be on it, likes to drive forward, and same way that Lundstrom. We need somebody in that sort of like number 10 area in between, behind the 2 forwards to link it up. And the 2 lads that can do that, he doesn't start with, he doesn't play. I mean, he's just making a rod for his own back week after week with his selections. And back to my original question, Andy, do you think he has lost the dressing room?
Well, there's all sorts of rumours flying around, isn't there, that there was a bit of a to-do after the Woking game, and some senior players may well have gone and had a word with him. I don't know the veracity of that.
I hope it's true, because I think that it's really important that they have the passion and they have it out, and that's part of the game, isn't it?
So do I, because that's what I said earlier. Is I want to see more from the senior players. Your likes of your Conlons and your Raglans, your captain, your vice captain need to be trying to set. I mean, some of the form of these players is just, Raglan's looked, half the player in the back.
What was he doing yesterday, Andy? Have you seen the goal? The second, was it the second or first goal? Just jogging back. You're not trying to keep up with the guy that was obviously the threat.
Well, that would indicate potentially that he has lost the dressing room, because they're just not putting it in. I've been critical of Conlon before when he doesn't affect games, and then before he got injured, he had a couple of months of really good form. And then, like you just said a minute ago, and we've exchanged messages on this point. When you think about Tranmere away and Leyton Orient away in the FA Cup. We're going toe-to-toe with these teams and competing well and mixing it up, playing it on the floor, through the lines, as well as going with the long ball. And, there was a time when we were saying on the podcast we were really liking Mickey Mellon. I can recall saying it. He seemed to be growing on me. His dour sort of Scottish nature is his nature, but he'd sort of grown on me. He seemed to be quite steely and determined and putting his own imprint on the team, and that's what we were saying before Christmas, and many people were in agreement. And it's amazing that it's gone from that to this in such a short space of time. So possibly he's lost the dressing room. I do hope that these senior players are trying to have it out and they're trying to do something about it. There's all sorts of rumours, like Josh Lundstrom maybe was trying to force a move in January. Don't know whether that's true. I heard rumours yesterday that the board are going to sit down with Mickey Mellon. I don't think that is true, by the way. I think so. There's lots of rumours flying around, but I think the sort of the basic tenet of all this sort of stuff is that it's definitely coming to a head, isn't it? And at some point in the very near future, a decision's going to have to be made. Because I can't, like I said before, I don't see any way that we're coming through this next few weeks and it's all going to end rosily. It's definitely going to end as a damp squib. Either we miss out on the playoffs or we just get absolutely mullered in the playoffs and go out with a whimper. I think the issue for me is if you sack him now, sack him today, then he gets to say, doesn't he, I had him fourth. They sacked me and I was fourth. It was ridiculous. Because that we are fourth, we're amazingly, because everyone else around us has been pretty inconsistent as well. So I think you just have to let the season play out, and then you get to the summer, and then you have to sit down unemotionally, talk about style of play, talk about what happened in the back half of the season, and then collectively come to a decision. And that decision, if we do what I've just described, is probably that he has to go. I happened to have a little look this morning at out of work managers, right? So lower league out of work managers, right? I'll just throw some names at you. Tell me if any of these stick. These are ones not in work. John Coleman, Nigel Adkins, Stephen Clements, Keith Curl, Michael Duff, Darryl Clark, Ian Everett, Joey Barton, Sean Maloney, Steve Evans, Dino Marmria, Paul Hurst, Keith Hill, and Darren Sal. Now, you go through that sort of list. These are out-of-work managers that have been League One to National League. I mean, realistically in there, you've probably only got, for me at least, Darryl Clark, Steve Evans. Yeah, at a push that you're like, well... So I guess what I'm trying to say is there doesn't seem any point gambling now. You might as well let him see the season out and then take stock in the summer.
Yeah. That's what I do. I don't see the sense, like you say, 4 games to go. Look, if we make the playoffs, we're not going to win the playoffs. I mean, I'm not a betting man. I'm not a betting man for a reason. I'm not very good at it. I put a bet on us winning the league just before Christmas. So that goes to show what I know. But if I was to put a bet on now, it wouldn't be that York are going to smash it. That's and deservedly so. I think in this division, if you finish second, then really you deserve to go up. Having said that, if we were to get to the playoffs and were to beat York and go up in their place, I'd be absolutely delighted. I just can't see it with how things are at the minute.
I think the thing that you've been discussing both about yesterday's lineup is we need players. We have a distinct lack of pace in the side, don't we? We don't have any fast players. Probably Jake Caprice is it, and Jez when he starts, they've got a little bit of pace about the two of them. But what we don't find is we don't have players running at teams, do we? And so the players that can run at teams, like you said, are Lundstrom. In this squad, Lundstrom, Yoganathan, Pritchard, right? All 3 of those midfielders were on the bench yesterday. Yeah. So he starts with Pet, who's a tidy footballer, but he's not going to be running at players, taking people on. He's a bit of a dinky footballer. He passes the ball around corners, isn't he? You've got Conlon and Rossiter. Well, Rossiter, can't pass water, can he? Really, he's just a little yard dog in the middle. So. You've got nobody in there who's going to run at anybody, and that's him setting that team up. So you're setting that team up, and it's just stationary and pedestrian and slow, and we take too many touches on the ball. We don't release the ball quick enough. We don't ping it around quick enough. There's an element in me which gets... I get frustrated because our forward players don't move enough. They're too stationary also. So there's not enough for the midfielders. There's not enough... People aren't making runs in front. So it ends up just being long ball, into feet, into head, into chest, pick up second balls and go from there. And it's really, really ugly to watch. It's really ugly. And it has to be on Mellon, doesn't it?
It is on Mellon, and I think dropping the keeper to bring Hudson in at this stage of the season was absolutely crazy. Personally, I think he was playing really well. He's been probably our best player, like most consistent since Christmas. I think he's done really well. So that disrupted what was already a disrupted back line. We've had some issues with likes of Ogle being out and Manny. It's Hobson's been out for a long time. So you've got to keep a consistent back 4 or 3 or whatever it is as much as you can. His philosophy is to try and keep it tight and it not concede. Problem is we are conceding and then we're not able to respond. And we went ahead against Woking. We give away 2 crappy goals. it's not working. There has to be a plan B, and people have been saying it all season. There has to be a plan B, and there isn't, because when we go behind now, and it wasn't working. It was, in fairness, earlier on in the season we were coming from behind when it on occasion, but we are just looking devoid of ideas. But there is threat on the bench. There are players, but players need game time. They need time to play with each other, and we've seen, like, you know, the likes of Jorgen Nathan coming on, give him some starts. He's got energy. He's 19 years old. He's not Pet, Roster, or Conlon. He's a different kind of element. And Jez as well, since he come back, has actually looked a bit of a better footballer. I think that experience at Eastleigh has done him some good. So, but it's the mindset, it's the attitude that Mickey Mellon is sending them out with. And if it seems to me he's going to die on this hill between now and the next 4 games. I can't see that home game against Hartlepool. It has to be go out and win that game from the first minute. And I just can't see him changing that. I can't see him making the adjustments to the team to go out and play a certain way. Maybe he will, maybe he'll surprise us, but we're creeping to that time of the season now where we have to start asking questions. I just don't, like we've said about it lots. We don't see the point, Andy. We haven't seen the point this season of calling for a manager's head at, in January or February or whatever. The season is the season. We are still in 4th. We dropped into 5th yesterday because of goal difference with when Forest Green pulled a couple back, that put us back into 4th. It doesn't matter whether it's 4th or 7th at this stage of the season. But looking at all the recruitment, the players that we've brought in over last season and this season, looking at the way that we've capitulated after Christmas 2 seasons running, you can say that now. Like if the teams below us that have put in some good runs and some consistency, we'd be out of the playoffs now. We're only in there. It's only luck that we're still in the playoffs, and the fact that the National League is full of teams that seemingly don't actually want to get promoted. We can, I think, with 4 games to go, look back on this season and say, right, it's not been a good season. Excuse me. It's weird. It's so weird. I can't get rid of. It's like if you average all our results out, we'd still be 4th, because that's where we are now. But it doesn't feel like it, because since Christmas we've been shocking. So I think there's a genuine question now, and I think the board will have to be looking at this and saying, is this do we want more of this next season? Has he done enough to earn the right to go at it again? He still has another year on his contract.
Well, this is part of the issue. So it was great to have a break last week, and I really enjoyed listening to the Sports Town interview that you did with Luke, Sue, and Darren, and it just puts it into context, doesn't it? £3+ million loss last year, be another £3+ million loss this year. It's 10 grand a day that they lose, and the Rothwells told us that they, in effect, they didn't say these words, but they might as well have done. They take the profit straight out of Manchester cabins and bunker bin and just pour them straight into the black hole that is Latics, and they're prepared to do that for a little bit longer yet. I was really heartwarmed to hear them say that they'll. They didn't indicate that they'd had enough yet, and they will continue to do it next season and maybe beyond that. There has to be a long-term plan to arrest that, because it cannot go on forever. And so Sports Town is the long-term plan, and that's what the interview was about last week. Was about.
Can we just on that point, Andy? Can we just mention some of the Muppets on social media who, who seem to think that we need to concentrate on promotion and all that stuff has to be focused now, and that the other sport, at least we're getting a netball court and all that. Things have to work in tandem. You can't develop the football club for the long term, and you have to do that now. These things take a long time, so the money is going into the football side of things. The money and the planning is going into the long term strategic sustainability project for the football club. Without that, we end up with another situation where they have to pull out, and we're back to where we were after Abdallah, after Corney, after Chris Moore, and all that kind of stuff. So there has to be that planning. And if you can't see that, then I don't know what to suggest. But like, you know, it has
Exactly.
to work that way, doesn't it, Andy?
It absolutely does. And this is like the bigger picture, short term picture, sort of. You know, you're getting pulled left and right with it. You know, on a personal level, I'm like Chris said, I'm absolutely cooked for this season now. I'm like, as soon as it's over, the better. The cricket season started. I'm looking forward to relaxing in the sun and not having to put myself through the purgatory of recording this every week, because it's just hard work. But then I'm also at the same time really sort of you know, relaxed about the long-term outlook, and I feel I'm not like worried at any moment that we're about to implode, and so that makes me feel good, and I feel happy about the people that are involved in the football club, and so I'm quite happy for them to make the decisions when they're ready to make decisions that they need to make. But you've got to bear in mind that he's got a year on his contract, and it's going to cost us money to sack him. He's probably not going to walk away, is he? You know, because he's not going to be a queue of people ready to employ him in football management if he gets sacked by Latics. So he's going to want to take the compensation, and I guess on a personal level, it's kind of understandable. But the club is already losing millions of pounds a year, and to then pay off another manager, you know, it is quite a difficult thing to have to do. But
ultimately, Andy, if they don't sack him, will they lose more money on season ticket sales? Will they lose on recruitment and players? And that's what they're going to have to offset, isn't it? And that's what they're going to have to figure out. Go on, Chris.
Can I ask you a question? I mean, seriously, do you really want a third season with Mellons in charge, having seen the football we've seen, the collapses you've seen twice after Christmas? He's not coming across as a man who's in charge or leading from the front. He's coming across as a browbeaten guy who he just doesn't seem to have the answers anymore. And I'm not saying he's a dinosaur. It's easy to say dinosaur and all that, but he's out of touch and he isn't inspiring. I think your season ticket sales will definitely offset anything that we've got to pay him in compensation, because I think we're going to take a hit this season. I think the numbers are going to be down. You mentioned before, I'm lucky. I've seen us get promoted. I've been around a long time. I'm an old man. But these kids have seen nothing. They don't owe the club nothing. They're loyal to the club. They're loyal to the badge. We need to give them something back to follow. And I'm sorry, but Mickey Mellons is not serving up any football that is of any interest to anybody to watch, apart from his own personal income at the end of the month. And it's just not good enough for the club. It doesn't give us a tomorrow for the youth. No kids would want to come back and watch that over and over again. When it's buzzing, it's brilliant. But this dross at the moment, and it don't look to be improving, it's not going to put numbers on the gate. It's going to take away the 10,000, there'll be 12,000. And before we know it, we'll be in trouble. And I'm not saying that we are going to head that way, but it's a real possibility. There's a big decision. Even if we go up, I don't really want him to stay. I don't want him to stay, I admit. I don't want him to gone now, but he can go end of season for me, please.
I'll tell you what, I mean, to answer that question, Chris, do I want to... I would suffer this football if it won, right? I would suffer it if it won, because I'm quite happy to be pragmatic in the short term and say, well, whatever works, even if it's not very pretty, because I accept we're a 5th division football club, right? So I'm not expecting brilliant, expansive football from the players that we can attract. But if it's not winning, and his home record is utterly abysmal, like Boundary Park, his record is shocking. And that is obviously going to affect the atmosphere and people turning up at Boundary Park and buying tickets. I mean, I will buy my season tickets in blind faith to support the Rothwells because I think they deserve it. And if you can, I would encourage you to do it, because why wouldn't you? That it will come good one day. I just want that. We all want that day to be now. When it isn't going to be now, it's going to be whenever it will be. No, I don't really want to have to suffer another season of this if it isn't effective. And I tell you what I do. And this is a personal opinion. I would get to the summer. I'd sit Mickey Mellon down and talk about style of football. Tell him it's not really working. Probably season ticket sales will maybe be a factor in the decision, and then come to some sort of decision where you collectively part way. So it's a mutual decision. you part ways. And then I would go after Pete Wild. So I'd do that. Now, Pete Wild's at Fleetwood, and he's got another year in his contract at Fleetwood. But he's a young, progressive coach. All right, he's never played professional football. It doesn't matter. He's a young, progressive coach. He's done really well at Halifax, at Barrow, and seemingly pretty well at Fleetwood since he's been there. I think Fleetwood are in a bit of bother financially. Their numbers were eye-wateringly large. Their losses like
absolutely.
£9 million. I think the family that owns that, the Pillies, have got issues outside of football that need to be solved. And I think you could probably get him from Fleetwood. Now that would then bring one of our own into the club who's got loads of experience at Division 5 and knows the lower leagues really well. He would play something more akin to a positive style of football, and it would get everyone behind it. And that's what I think I would do at this stage. I think it feels like some of those names I read out before, I don't want old school managers coming in. We've just tried it again. What I wanted when we had Unsworth was a young progressive coach trying new modern approaches and tactics that was embedded throughout the club. And it feels like Pete Wild might be the person to do that. I don't know whether he'd come, but I suspect he probably would. And so that's what I'd do.
In Mickey's defence, what you just said, that I agree with most of what you said then. Our home form wasn't brilliant under Unsworth neither. We seem to be struggling at Benbury Park for quite some time. So that we can't nail all that on Mellons, I don't think. But there's obviously a pressure to playing at home at Benbury Park, and the reaction of the fans, something's not right.
No, the thing is that we had our worst ever season at Boundary Park under Harry Kewell. We had a record-breakingly bad season, and there was no fans in Boundary Park. When you've already said that you've seen, you've been alive for our last two promotions, one in 1974, one in 1991. We are shit home and away generally as a rule. We're with the odd blip here and there of a good season, we're just a poorly performing football club, and so we're not doing anything differently at the minute. We're actually just norming. Do you know what I mean? We are, like, that's the reality of it, right? We're shit. It's nearly 20 years since our last playoff. So it is what it is. Like, so if you're going to buy a season ticket, you're probably going to buy one anyway, because you're used to Oldham being shit, because we're always shit, right? Now, what we have, I think, at the minute is the promise of building something in the future. And I think you're right, Andy, in what we need is a manager that we can get behind who is going to be at the club for 3, 4, 5 years, ideally. Whether that's Pete Wild or not, I can understand. There's certain, I mean, if you can get behind another fan, whether or not as a fan, would I want to go and manage my football club? Yes. Would I want to be responsible for it not working? And would I want to have my own fans shouting and giving me shit like they would do? I don't know. It's a difficult situation to put yourself into. I think when he had the opportunity in the past, it was completely out of the blue and it was too good to turn down. And it kickstarted his career in management. So I can understand that. Whether he'd come back, totally different set of circumstances, different experience under his belt. I'm not sure he would from the football league to the National League. So I get what you're saying, but the point is that they would have to open up the interview process to bring in and find somebody of a similar ilk, and without somebody that we can get behind. And unfortunately, hashtag OAFC was trending at number 7 yesterday on Twitter. That is never a good sign. And no. That's where we were at yesterday. And if he's not lost the dressing room, he's lost a big chunk of the fan base at this stage. And so in terms of the finances and everything else, unless there's a massive, massive turnaround in the next 4 games, and Mickey Mellon realizes where he's at, and he drops some of this conservatism, and he allows his team some freedom, and he stops worrying about conceding goals, because guess what, Mickey, we're going to concede them anyway. Right, we are conceding them, so let's try fucking scoring some and win the game of football that way. So unless he does that, I think the decision has been made for him and for the board already. I think, but barring us getting to Wembley and maybe even getting promoted, I think his days are numbered personally, because he's had a full. another thing, we need to give a manager a full season. He's nearly there now. There's absolutely no point in getting rid of him now, I don't think. So just let him get a full season. He's had a season and a half then. There is the argument, you know, I tried when I spoke to Luke and Sue, I tried to sort of frame things to give them an opportunity to say things. You know, Luke said that Mike Ford had said to him that you need 2 summers, you know, in order to recruit properly. So that there is an argument then to say, look, got to give him a bit more time. Maybe he'll learn from his mistakes. Maybe he'll recruit differently. I don't think that he's that point of view is gonna carry amongst many of the fans, unfortunately now. So I think Mickey, it's over to you. He says he knows. He says he sees what needs to be done. He's working on it. Well, you've got to it's down to the coaching team and the management to make that happen. And ultimately, if he doesn't do that by the end of this season, I think the writing's on the wall. Personally,
definitely. We are the problem. Our generation, we are all going to renew our season tickets, our subscriptions. We're all going to buy the replica shirt. We're going to do it. It's the youngsters. We need to get them on board. And we're warped. We've already gone. We're going to subscribe every year in, year out, as much as we can.
We're warped.
We are, aren't we?
Yeah. No, we're accustomed to it. But like my youngest nephew hates losing. He hates it. And how old is he? 6, right? And goal goes in on Tuesday night, we're winning. Yay. Then the goals go in, and he's like, "Oh, not again!" And he gets really emotional, and then Joe Garner put the ball in for what we hoped was the equaliser, got ruled offside. He's up, he's cheering, and then he's bursting into tears when the referee linesman flags up. And it's really, really hard for him because, you know, we got hooked at the right time when we were good, and we've got to find that hook if we are going to grow as a football team and stop being the shittest team to support in football. I mean, he said it yesterday on the commentary.
He did.
Yeovil, like he said, you know, out of the top 6 divisions, we're the team that's gone the longest without a promotion. 2 promotions in the best part of 50 years 50. Now, in 51 years, 2 promotions in 51 years. It's absolutely shocking. So what I would say to fans is, look, we've been patient for a long, long time. Another year of patience isn't going to kill you. But what I would say
hang in there.
Yeah, hang in there. But I think from, you know, talking to the people who matter here now directly, we've got to get that next appointment right, and it needs to be. So whether or not I don't know. You know, they're the ones on the pay grade to get it right. They're the ones that have to make the decisions. They're the ones that have put themselves in this position. How they go about doing that is on them. You know, but they've got to get the next managerial appointment right.
Well, in many people's eyes, the Mickey Mellon appointment was right. You know,
yeah.
You and I debated on the podcast. We weren't convinced he was the future for some of the reasons we've described on this podcast, and we got pilloried from some for saying it because he's got his 5 promotions on his CV and all that sort of stuff, and he's perfect for us at this stage. And he was very popular, and so therefore, I don't think you can criticise the appointment of Unsworth as a gamble and like a mate of the Royals. But I don't think you can criticise him for Mellon, even if some weren't convinced. So it's not like,
and I'm not criticising him for it at all. I'm saying, but the point, it comes to a point. You said, has it worked?
No,
is it work? Not so much has it worked, but is it working? You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Is it working? Well,
we've talk about
backwards this season, haven't we?
We have, yeah. And you talk about your nephew earlier. So I was eyeing up Forest Green away as my next game to go to, partly because when I was eyeing it up, it was either Yeovil or Forest Green. I wasn't going to both. They're both a dog to get to, aren't they? And I've been to them both before. So I eyed up Forest Green because at the time I was thinking, well, that might be a nice battle for third. A good day out. And he's just like, oh, God, can I drag my 2 boys all the way to Gloucestershire to see us get absolutely stuffed there and then drag them all the way back again? I'm like, I've got to get them. I've got to take them when it's a positive experience, and I don't want them to go if it's just dour and negative and people shouting at the manager and the players, and it's just not the right environment for them. So it's just really difficult to get yourself up for it, isn't it?
that third place is so achievable. I mean, they lost again to Gateshead yesterday. Their form is poor, and they'll be, you know, I'm sure their fans are you know, having similar conversations to what we are. But that third place was on one home game from Wembley, and that had to be the target. Like that had to be the target, and you don't get that target by trying not to lose games. You get that target by trying to win games. And I know he says that we go out trying to win every game, but clearly his strategy is keep it tight, nick a goal. And he's not recruited goal scorers, and he's not playing a team that is going to threaten. You know, the chances that we've created, the goals that we've scored. York has scored more in one game than we have in like the last 4, 5, 6 games or something like that. It's ridiculous. So there are big changes needed, and there are a lot of. I can't wait to do the squad pod, Andy. I've been saying this for weeks now, but like, you know, it's going to be a fresh start, and whoever's recruiting that team next season needs to get it right. And needs to get it right to go into next season. There is some good players at this football club, definitely, for this level. But whoever it is who recruits the rest of them has got to recruit a team that wants to go out and win this league by scoring goals. I don't give a shit if we win games 3-1, 3-2, 2-1. Well, they're going to concede goals, and I know you need to keep it tight, but you're going to concede goals. You've just got to score more than the opposition, haven't you? It's pretty fucking basic.
One more win and we're in the playoffs. That's a positive. It's got to be a positive, but it's how we perform. We've got to get there with some momentum. If we win the next 4 games, which would be a miracle, we could go into it going, hang on, you know, but he needs to throw the caution to the wind now. We get a win on Friday, and the last 3 games, go for it. Let's see what they do. They do unshackled, and let's give it a shot. Have a go. Let's throw it caution to the wind and go for it.
It might sound like we are being pretty depressed, you know, pretty down on it. But listen, I'm going to go to this. I'll be at the last 4 games, right? And I'll get behind the team, and I'll get behind the manager. And I want him to turn it around. I've wanted him to turn it around since Christmas. It's not that I want Mickey Mellon to fail. No one in the fan base wants Mickey Mellon to fail. We all want him to take us out of this division. That's his job. That's what he's for. So what we're saying is that based on the last 2 seasons that he's been here, where we're at now, it doesn't seem to be going in the right direction. But starting on Friday, is it going to be a good Friday or a shite Friday? That's the question.
Good Friday. Good Friday. It's the resurrection. It's the resurrection. It's all coming back.
And I'm sure most of them are joking, but please stop calling for Shez to come back on Twitter. For God's sake.
Shez? Oh, no.
I know.
I love Shez, but...
Oh, anyway, right. Okay, it's time to do Latics Mind now. We've done that. We've done that. Now, Chris, let's hope there's some questions from your heyday in there that, you know, maybe
pre-war.
Struggle with pre-war, yeah. How do you usually do, Chris?
I normally we have a French group over here, and we try and keep tabs on how we do. And I'm between 0 on an average week to 3 on a good week. So it depends how they fall. But I'm getting older, so my mind's going, can I play that card now? Can I play my joker up front?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries.
Getting older.
Right. Well, good luck. Let's hope there's loads of questions about Alan Grove.
Don't. Who put Latics in front at Luton Town on the opening day of the season in 2004?
Sean McCarthy.
No, it was Will Haining. Which goalkeeper did Latics loan from Luton Town in 2008?
Pass.
Which striker did Latics sign from Everton in 2017?
Pass.
Who did Latics beat on penalties in the League Cup first round in 2008-2009?
Carlisle.
It was Rochdale. Who scored Latics' only hat-trick in their championship-winning season of 1990-1991?
Roger Palmer.
It was Ian Marshall on the opening day at Wolves.
Of course it was 3-2. Oh, yeah,
Which legendary defender once scored a spectacular own goal against Latics whilst playing for Fulham?
That would be Bobby Moore.
Correct. Who was Latics' front of shirt sponsor between 2006 and 2008?
Hoyners.
Hillstone. Which centre half was ever present in Latics' title-winning season of 1990-1991?
Richard Jobson.
Wrong, it was Earl Barrett. Who was Andy Ritchie's assistant as Latics manager?
Andy Ritchie. He had David Ayres.
It was Billy Urmson.
Oh.
Who did Latics beat in the League Cup in 1986, 1987 and 1989?
89, 86, 87, 89. I've got Southampton.
It was Leeds.
Leeds. Oh, dirty Leeds. I've done poor there.
Well, you got one, so you didn't get
You have done poor because I got 4. So that's unusual for me. I got the Leeds one there, but I don't think I'm going to get any more on the passes, Andy. But we'll give it a go.
We'll give it a go, yeah. So, which goalkeeper did Latics sign on loan from Luton Town in 2008?
I have no idea.
It was Marlon Beresford. And which striker did Latics sign from Everton in 2017?
Didn't get that.
Striker from Everton. I don't know.
Courtney Duffus.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
I've let my French group down. I've let the French lads down here. I'm not really on the quiet. But there you go.
No, you've let the French walking football national team down more.
Oh, because I can't play from.
Yeah, by being English.
Oh dear.
Well,
there are them questions. It's all right, Matt. And after a false start as well, I was put under pressure there. I was having a nervous moment.
Yeah, just so that the people know, just as we played the opening, we played the music, we got going, and then Andy froze. So we're gonna, which obviously we'll edit out, but just so you know, the pressure mounted on Chris as he had to wait.
Then I froze.
Yeah, exactly. But they're only easy if you know them.
Yeah, this is true.
So, yeah. So the question is now: are we going to create any future Latics Mind? Memorable Latics Mind questions in the next 4 weeks? Are we going to make the playoffs for only the 3rd time this millennium? What do you think? Chris, I've like you said, we've only one more win, you reckon, and that should be enough. Do you reckon we're okay and we're going to have our first playoff experience for nearly 20 years?
We're going to be in the playoffs. I mean, look, I've looked at this morning. I've stood the table. I've stood the games that are left for all around us. We've got some lucky fixtures coming up. Rochdale have got to play Altrincham, Gateshead have got to play. There's a lot of teams in there got to play each other. I can't see us not getting into 7th place. I really cannot. Mathematically, we'd be really unlucky. One more win, we're definitely in. But yeah, we're going to be in the playoffs. But it's how we do when we're in there. That's what bothers me. That's what worries me. So in for me. But there you go.
Is it conceivable, Andy, that we'll lose the next 4 games and not make the playoffs?
I don't think so. I think we'll scrape enough to get in. You know, like there's a tiny part of me says we'll finish 7th. We'll have to go away to 4th. We'll pike a 1-0 win. We'll end up playing Forest Green, who are clearly going to finish third. Is that right? Or did we play second then? We might have been play second on that. No, you wouldn't. You play third. You go to Forest Green. They're horribly out of form. You beat them and you find yourself at Wembley. And you're like, how have we got here? And then York will beat us 5-0 at Wembley. And I've
Josh Jones.
I've seen people say, I've seen a few people say, I don't want to go to Wembley this year because I don't want it. I've been to Wembley twice watching Latics, and both times were bitterly disappointed. I don't want my third experience watching Latics to also be bitterly disappointing. So that I kind of understand that. But if you get there and you've got a one-game shootout, you never know. York could freeze on the day. But I think more realistically, the outcome will be we'll scrape into the playoffs and then whimper out almost immediately.
Yeah, so a nice optimistic end to the podcast, but that befits the sort of what isn't a very optimistic end to the season so far. But there's still 4 games to go. The thing is, though, 2 of them are next weekend, so it is it's nearly over. So Hartlepool at home and then York away on Easter Monday. So
so we're not doing a pod next week because of that.
No, we're not going to bother doing a podcast Easter Sunday. It would be the recording. We'd release it on the Monday. We've got a game. So the phone-in, we'll have the phone-in on Thursday for you to get in touch and tell us about how you're feeling after the Yeovil game. And then we will have a very action-packed phone-in after the Hartlepool and York games, and we'll know a lot more about where we are likely to finish by then. So, Chris, thanks for joining us. It'd be good to have you on, mate.
Been a pleasure. Enjoyed it, lads, apart from the questions, but enjoyed it. Brilliant. And keep it up. Keep up the good work. Thank you, lads. Brilliant.
We'll keep it up. It would be nice. It would be nice to be at this stage in the season and absolutely buzzing. But I'm sure we'll experience that at least once before we decide to quit the podcast, won't we, Andy?
I hope so.
Don't quit the podcast.
Yeah, it would make it a lot easier if we had more to cheer. But anyway, we are where we are, and we'll see what happens. Thanks again, Andy, as always.
Cheers, mate.
And thanks for listening, everyone, and give us a call, please, on the phone-in on Thursday night. Take care. See you later.
Hey, Dave, did you know that listeners can now buy us a coffee or any other kind of hot beverage?
Ooh.
What's your favourite hot beverage, Dave?
A macchiato.
And how do you like your macchiato?
Black with lots of milk. Oh.
No cream?
No.
Well, if you want to buy Dave a
macchiato,
then go to buymeacoffee.com/We Are Oldham. I'll just have a Nescafe.
Ooh. Thank you, listeners.